Hello, I'm going to take you through the install and configuration of the Universal Test Framework. I've just installed the JDK in Eclipse, and I'm going to fire up the Eclipse now. My Eclipse install is Ganymede. Ignore that little warning there from the ever helpful Windows. Once I go into Eclipse, I'm going to select Workbench, and here's Eclipse. What we're going to do first of all is check out the entire project, the UTF project, from the repository. So we need to go into Perspectives and go into the CVS perspective. Next, what we need to do is connect to the repository, which is on SourceForge. And those connection details are in the user manual. And I'm going to try and follow that user manual. Turn off my caps. I'm going to try and follow that user manual as much as possible. So if you notice any page turning noises, you know what I'm doing. Okay, so the details are in the manual. It's universal test fr.cvs.sourceforge. Oh, I got to spell things correctly as well, which is unfortunate, but true. .net repository path /CVS root universal test fr. Okay, underneath authentication, we're going to go in as the anonymous user, which gives us read access to the repository. No need for a password. Make sure you have the default set, which is the proxy server, and that's it. I'm going to make that connection. SourceForge will hopefully authenticate us, and we're into the repository. Now, we have the option here of checking out the latest, which is going to be from head of the Universal Test Framework project, or we can go into a particular version. Before I do either, I'm going to change a setting in Eclipse. I'm just going to go under Team, actually expand that, go into File Content, CVS, and Filed and Folders, Prune Empty Directories. I'm going to turn that off, make sure I hit Apply and then OK. And that will allow us to check out empty folders, which we need for this project because, well, it will become clearer later on. But we need to do that, otherwise we won't get those folders. So I'm going to check out from head. All I've done is done Control Select of the Universal Test Framework, which is the core project, and web projects, which gives us a template for our web projects that we wish to test. Do right click and check out. This will take some time. I would advise going for a coffee break, depending on your bandwidth. This is probably going to take you about 10-15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to do a pause now. Okay, welcome back. That was, for me, about 15 minutes. So we should now have the entire framework checked out on to our hard drive. Struggle to think about that. Okay, so we're in the CVS repository. We can go back to another perspective, which is the Java one, which is our main one for this project. And we'll have a little look about what we've got here. This is the main project, the UTF, the Universal Test Framework. And this is where we would keep our individual web projects, the ones that you're hoping to test. I have got a template one here called Demo, which we're going to go through in a minute. Before I go any further, there's a section in the user guide right at the back underneath troubleshooting, and I'm just going through essentially that, having a look at the libraries and class bar settings. Just make sure that we've got everything we should have, because the project's self-contained. We've got all the caster, POI, select's all good. One thing sometimes can be problematic is some of the Ant libraries and settings. Sorry, hold on, let me find that. Okay, so underneath global entries, I'll just do that again. I've gone in underneath Window, Preferences, Ant, Runtime, class path, global entries, we need to add some things here. We'll add some external jars. I think this will be part of your JDK, so you need to find where you installed, go to where you install your JDK. By default it will be underneath program files if it's in Windows, program files, Java, and the JDK in question is 5, and we need to go to libraries, libs, and it's the tools we need. We also need another, and this will help us run some of our Ant tasks which are critical to this project. You also need to add another jar which is underneath the UTF environment, what you've just checked out. If you go to UTF, you go to Universal Test Framework, and you go to jars, Ant libs, Incarto. Need to add that one as well. It's quite an obscure one, and that enables us to send excuse me, email via our Ant tasks. Okay, so we should be alright now. You're going to apply OK, and we should be able to continue. So we need to let the framework know which project we want to run against, and we do that through a series of property files. For every one of your projects you should create a structure underneath web project similar to the demo environment, which has underneath UTF project configuration 3 property files. To point the framework at the demo project, we need to copy and paste those 3 into the conf area and configuration area. We do yes to all. Now the Universal Test Framework is set up to run against the demo environment. As I just mentioned, we need to run, we don't need to, but we run all our framework processes through Ant scripts. So I've just gone in there, I've gone into the Ant window, and we need to drop some of the build XML files. We've got one there, which is the extraction script, which will convert IDE, Selenium IDE based test scripts into the UTF format. We need to have an Ant script, sorry, build XML script for starting our Selenium server, and we also need one more, which is underneath Ant scripts. So what I'm going to do is drag those across using the control. I highlight all 3 of them and I drag them into the Ant window. One thing you will almost certainly need to change is if you go into build, my build.properties, I have a path set into my JDK. Yours has to be set appropriately. So if you go into, again, where you've stored your JDK, which is program files, Java by default, JDK, and I see I've got version 6 there. So I just need to change that setting. After saving that, we'll now save that. Control S, and we're ready to go. We need to turn my attention to the Firefox extension, the IDE, and all we're going to do is let the IDE know about our new UTF format. So we go into options, and what do we see here? Go to formats, and all we're going to do is do an add. I'm going to call this the UTF, and it's the Universal Test Format, and we just need to get the JavaScript code that goes in there. So we go back to Eclipse, that's underneath, close down those, underneath the Selenium client, underneath the Selenium ZOOL, we have formats, and we have the Universal Test Format. And all I'm going to do is Control A, Control C, and go back, and Control A and Control V. So I've just copied all that format in, and we now have the Universal Test Format within our IDE. And I'm just